Hey everybody, and welcome back. I bought a webcam, so hopefully this time, everything will work out really well. But welcome back. We had a very interesting time reading my pick time around. The pick was The Loser by Thomas Bernhard. And I guess I should have done a little bit more, research on the book before I gave it as one of the two choices. But I think there will be a lot of really interesting discussions. I personally had like a 180 with the book, like once I got to the end. So yeah, but this is the cover, guys. It's really pretty though. I do like the cover.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And it feels nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
It feels like if you were to spill anything on it, that you could clean it really well. Clean it really easily.
It's got that vinyl feeling.
Yeah. All right, but before we start, Amanda, how have you been?
I've been good. Just last bits of wedding planning, and other than that, it's just making my way through school with these wonderful, wonderful grade 5s that I have this year.
Yeah, because you have what? Like you have kind of 2 more months left with them?
Two and a bit. Yeah, it was a final concert, and they'll get there.
Yeah.
They always do.
Yeah. That's all good. And I mean you have bigger things to plan than your grade 5s right now, right? So
Yeah.
Is
all coming together though.
It's going well though?
It is. We just have little bits left to do. Most of the major stuff is taken care of. It's just all those little things that you didn't think you had to think about. Oh yeah, now we're thinking about them.
Yeah, yeah. But you got your shoes?
Got my shoes. They're gorgeous.
Nice.
Love them.
For those of you who don't know, Amanda actually purchased them off of Etsy, right? So you could pick the color and stuff. So that's really cool.
Yes. And you pick the design, this design, and then you dye it whatever color you want, because she's got like a whole bunch of colors that you just choose from, and they're gorgeous.
Nice. So that's one less thing to worry about. Right, one less thing to worry about, and then amidst like must be like a very long list of things to continue to worry about.
We've given ourselves so much time to plan it that it's not so bad, because you just tackle one big thing and one small thing every couple of months, and then by the time you're where I am, where it's like 2-3 months out, you're kind of like, oh, it's just a little stuff left. That doesn't actually take too much, but yeah, give yourself time.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Karen, how have you been?
Busy.
You are sick.
I am
also sick.
Yes.
Also sick. I'm sick and busy, and I've got 4 concerts coming up. So
are any of your groups in festival at all?
No. I've got I play piano in the pit orchestra for a musical, and then I'm singing in a choir.
Oh, nice.
Brand new for me. So that's why I'm hoping that my sinuses clear up so that I can sing properly.
Let me know if like the day of or the day before you still feel kind of here. I have something for you. I have a Chinese remedy that really works. It works for just the day that you need it, and then you're back to sick after, but it'll clear you up for that one day.
Is it that stuff that you had in your video that one time?
No, that wasn't it. That was like the milder stuff. I have like this little like dark silver pill that you're supposed to let like just coat your tongue, and it just heals everything. Like I said, it tastes really gross, but it works. If you want to be able to sing for just that one day, it'll work.
Yeah. Standard Chinese medicine.
And it's herbal too, so it's not it's not terrible for you.
Standard Chinese medicine is pretty bad tasting.
Yeah, so that's why for those of you who don't know, Amanda was making fun of my Instagram video because she's like, there's no way that's Chinese herbal medicine. Because like I had Chinese herbal medicine that actually tasted pretty good, but that's because they mixed it with a lot of honey.
That's why.
Yeah. But like normally it's just like people are just like, well, like how would you describe Chinese herbal medicine? I was like, well, imagine it is a bowl of Buckley's and you have to drink it all.
It's way worse than Buckley's.
Yeah, because at least Buckley's has like a little bit of like mint or like cinnamon in it to kind of mask it.
Yeah,
like, it literally tastes like dirt, and I've eaten dirt before, so
it's like licking the bottom of your shoe after like a particularly bad flood.
But imagine like a bowl of liquid shoe.
Yeah, and
On
it's brown, and there's
Yeah, and
sticks
it's brown.
in it.
It's disgusting. It's not the most pleasant thing, but you know.
And I'll stick to Buckley's.
I'm not kidding when I say there are sticks in it. There are sticks in it.
Yeah.
I don't dispute that.
Yeah. But ooh, camera focus. There you go.
Yeah.
I've been okay. I have been like April is festival month in Victoria. I gotta say, I mean, I've said no to so many people, and I still wind up doing way too much. I don't know, I just need April to be over. I know it's the end of April, but I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I did a festival this morning. Well, I'm sorry, I went to the lawyers this morning, then went to festival, rushed home to have a rehearsal, rushed back to festival, rushed home to teach, and then have a rehearsal, and now I'm here.
We appreciate you being here.
See, you're agreeing to one thing, but it's all the other things around it. It's the scheduling. It's having to like time things. It just.
Yeah. Well, like one of the teachers was like, "How come you said no to me, but yes to this other person?" I was like, "Because I've worked with this other person for a very long time, and also it's not just the fact that I'm showing up to festival. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, I have to show up to lessons and rehearsals and extra rehearsals and all that stuff. I just don't have time for that. Like,
yeah,
I can sight read all of your music, but I just do not have time to see your face physically."
Yeah.
And people have to know you can't say yes to everybody.
Yeah. No kidding.
They need to learn their boundaries.
You're in high demand, Poon.
Well,
if you want me, ask me 4 months in advance.
Yes, agreed. I'm trying really hard to like be the whole cruel but kind. Like the people I've said yes to, those are the only person I'm saying yes to. And then there are people who are just like last minute emergency.
Yeah.
Like they're like pianists, like, you know, broke their hand or something like that. Then I'll be like, okay, I will help you out.
Well, yeah, you the last minute ones, you kind of feel for them. You're like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Not if they're procrastinating, though.
No, you know if they're procrastinating.
True.
Right.
True.
I say no to those.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Let's talk about this. So, let's do like the general kind of thing again, like overall impressions, and then how we thought about the plot, characters.
Okay, Matt. You picked this.
Yeah.
You go first.
Yeah. Okay. I was just going to say I will volunteer to go first. So, right off the bat, this was a tough read, but I'm glad, Karen, you mentioned to read the afterword.
Yes,
because it really helped. It really helped. Like I didn't actually. I forced myself to read the whole thing before reading the afterword, just so that I didn't skip ahead and read the afterword and go back. But even before reading the afterword, like the last 20 pages, I got used to the style of writing. And then I was like, oh, okay, all right. So like I was reading it and I was like, I really don't like this main character. But after like I said, after reading like 120 pages, I got used to the style of the writing. I got used to how this person was talking within his head. Yeah. And then I breezed through the last 40 pages. Okay. But the first like 100 were really difficult to read. But like I said, I'm not used to reading this type of style of writing, right? I'm used to reading very kind of like dynamic, right? Lots of action, characters that I really like, or like, you know, either I really like or I really dislike, but it's never the character that I'm following. It's always the characters that are around the main narrator, right? Mm-hmm. So I've never been in a situation where I really didn't like the actual narrator who is you, right? Yeah. It's different than, for example, I just finished reading Howl's Moving Castle, and the character Sophie is so annoying, but she's Sophie. She's not me, right? So I could be like, okay, she's annoying, but she's a different character. So that's why for me, this was difficult to read here. Yeah. But yeah. Overall, like after reading the afterword and realizing that it's a satire. Yeah. All the people that he's creating is caricatures, but it is his own kind of like literary description of his love-hate relationship with his country, and the politics and everything that went on with it. I was like, okay, so this there's a lot more layers to this book than I originally imagined. Would I have enjoyed it more if I had known it at the very beginning? I don't know, because I feel like I appreciated it more looking back on it now. in a completely different way than actually knowing that this was more than just like a schizophrenic, manic depressive narrator, like constantly repeating things and like running on sentences. And oh, by the way, I didn't know that it was a German to English translation. That would have helped a little bit too. But that made sense why the sentences were like half a page long.
Yeah.
Right? Because they just string the words together. And then they also mentioned that the German translation into English actually it wasn't a linguistic translation. So there was a lot of connective words like and, because, and those things that they didn't add in because in the German language, they don't have those. So like for me, like I said, like, you know, it was tough to read, but I grew to appreciate it near the end of the book. I feel like this was like similar to the chimes, except I really liked the chimes in the sense that like at least it was like fantastical. Like I understood like there was like this kind of like otherworldly magic situation. This one is fiction and like a retelling of like, you know, a historical character. And for me, I was just like, oh, this is so hard to read. But that's pretty much what I'm going to say about it for now. Overall impressions, I'd say like, you know, half thumbs up. I liked it and disliked it.
A medium?
A medium, yeah. A solid like, you know, medium on like the scale of like, you know, spiciness.
Spiciness? I like that.
All right. Amanda, do you want to go next?
Sure. You covered a bunch of things that I already felt. I honestly going through it was kind of like, why is this guy so annoying and whiny? And why is there no period on this entire page of writing? That was a lot of the thoughts that I had. And it was until I think I finished a couple of days ago, and I was talking to Karen on Facebook, and she's like, have you read the afterword yet? And I'm like, oh, no, but I'll read it after I'm done. And then, I get to the afterword, I'm like, oh, it all makes sense. Click, click, click. Like, oh, things are like making sense. And it finally pulled it all together because it actually really reminded me of reading Virginia Woolf when I was in uni and thinking, I hate this so much. I hate this so much. I just need to get to the end of the book. I just need to take copious amount of notes because I don't know what happened a page ago. So reading that afterward and thinking, oh, this is probably why I don't understand, because I don't know very much about Austrian history. I don't know that much about the politics. I don't actually even know that much about Glenn Gould. And then realizing, oh, I don't get it. That's why I don't get it. It's a very different I don't get it versus a book that you can read straight through and be like, I just don't get it. I don't like it. I don't get it. So it does go back to what you were saying, Poon, about the layers, that maybe if I had anyway, that knowledge of all the stuff that inspired this book, I probably would like it a lot more. But like you said, it's kind of for me. Like it's a very interesting book. The narrator kind of wormed his way into your heart just a little bit at the end. But other than that, like it was.
He was a whiny bitch.
He was a whiny bitch. And I'm like, can you leave the poor guy alone? He committed suicide. Like, just leave him alone. Come on.
Yeah. All right, Karen, your turn. What were your thoughts?
I did know, I had briefly looked at a few reviews of it, so I knew that it was a monologue. So I went into it knowing that it was sort of stream of consciousness, just how when you're thinking, you think of one thing and then you maybe double back to something else and you rework it or you re-clarify. And so what he would do is he would talk about something, he'd go off on a tangent and he'd come back to that one thing and he'd do it again. And so you'd be like, stop telling me this. We've already read it. But because I knew that this was sort of one long thought process, I quite enjoyed it. And there was I think, like you said, Matt, there was some sort of a change where it went from where he was telling the past to it was him currently going and visiting people that switched for me. And then I just flew through the end. Mm-hmm. But I found it hard to pick up, but easy to put down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I totally know what you mean.
So it was just like, okay, I'm going to stop at the top of the page. And I would just read 5 pages at a time.
Yeah.
And
See, but that was hard for me though.
No
Because,
paragraphs.
like, there's no, like, I would finish a sentence somewhere. I would put my bookmark there.
Yeah.
I would open it again and be like, I would have to go back and read it the whole page again.
Yeah. That's exactly what I did.
Start at the top and whatever. And I have notes. I have tons and tons and tons and tons of notes.
I have notes too. Look.
That kept me going. Overall, I regard this as that kind of, like Amanda said, that literary book where you hate it.
Yeah.
But because there's that role that it fulfills in society and his writing and stuff, I can appreciate it for that. I won't actively go out and read his stuff, but I can appreciate.
Yeah.
So
we're all nodding and like shaking.
I'm like a yay literary, but boo interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like they mentioned that he also wrote a book on Mendelssohn.
No.
And I sat there. I was like, do I want to like suffer another book? I was like, maybe when I'm like 40.
Well, okay. I wanna go back to something with you, Matt. And you said that you felt like you were the narrator, and I didn't feel that. I knew he was separate from me. Why is
well, see, I also knew that once I read the like, I think the problem was that the narrator never used his, like, people never called him by name or whatever a lot.
Yeah.
So there wasn't this constant reminder that I wasn't the narrator.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I think maybe it was like one of the ways that I jump into a book that I have to finish is that I was like, I have to personify myself as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And like Wertheimer and Gould are clearly distinct characters that I cannot, like, I can't be one or the other. This person seems to want to tread the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm fine with doing that. That's why I think I associated with the narrator simply because I was like, I just need to get through this book.
Yeah. He seemed neutral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, except for like, every single time he had an opinion on anything.
Well,
yeah, and
also he contradicted his opinions, because I would write down one thing and be like, oh, this, and then 20 pages later he was on the other side. I'm like, pick a thing.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, I think that's what's cool. So let's go into plot. There isn't much plot.
I was gonna say, like, what? Well, there's kind of a plot. It's
essentially like essentially he starts off going to like this cliff, and he's like, hey, I go here sometimes just to hang out, and that's how he meets Glenn Gould.
Yeah.
And then from there, Wertheimer gets kind of enmeshed into this kind of like trio, which really wasn't even a trio.
Mm-hmm.
But then they talk about how
it's like a toxic relationship. It's it's not good for any of them.
Yeah.
No.
Well, but essentially, like, I think what was really interesting was that the 3 characters that were in this book represented the 3 different paths that musicians take. Yeah. Either you become super famous, right?
Or you
give up music, or you kill yourself. Because you cannot, like, because you're constantly comparing yourself, and you can never get there. You can never be him. You can, like, those are the 3 things. And I think, like, I mean, obviously not all real life musicians, but I think if you think of it as like a really hyper romanticized description of a musician, those would be the 3 things. It has to be like either you go 100%, 0%, or you can't get to 100% and you cannot drop it, so you have to end your life. Yeah. So for me, I was like, oh, this is very poetic, very romantic.
I had to keep reminding myself that the Glenn Gould in this is not the Glenn Gould.
Yes.
Because it so gets in your head that, this is who he is. This is who he is. And it's not. It's just sort of a, like you said, it's a caricature of who he was and who, we might perceive him to be.
Yeah. And that was in the afterword when they're like, oh, by the way, Bernhard took very liberally from this life and this life and this life. And essentially what is correct is like the name. That's like it. Mm-hmm. So that was, it was interesting to read that and be like, you would think that they, not that he would get angry, but be like, you know, you're portraying me as such a jerk in this book, where I'm like, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, I'm the best. It's just interesting because, like, if you don't know Glenn Gould, like I didn't know Glenn Gould at all. So reading this, I'm like, was he? And my thought process was like, was this actually reflective of Glenn Gould's actual personality? Was he actually that much of an ass? And then you go to the afterward, you're like, oh no, they just borrowed his name and just took a huge amount of liberty.
He had quotations saying that he borrowed the idea of Glenn Gould,
Gould,
right?
Yeah.
So that was the concept of it, right? And the thing was, like, and you know what's really funny? I didn't think Glenn Gould, this character that he created in this book, was an asshole at all. He was just, he was just, you know, someone who had no filter, right? He just said it how it was, and he was just like, oh, you know what? Like, I know people like you. You're a typical loser.
Okay, this is not cited anywhere, but people have suspicions about Glenn Gould being on the spectrum. So if you think about social cues and just
that makes sense,
things,
the awkwardness
that might fit in because I didn't feel like he wasn't really arrogant. He was just kind of like, this is who I am.
He's kind of oblivious in a lot of ways.
Leave it, and Wertheimer, it just crushed him. So,
and the thing was, like, I think the whole point of the story wasn't even like Glenn Gould was just like, he was just a static character that just, like, things just happened to him, and it was the reactions of the other two characters
around him.
So
he was the instigator.
I mean, even in the back of the book, like the actual description of the book was just like, hey, these, like, it's the reaction of these two people and how their lives intertwined with Gould and how both of them spiraled out of control. Right.
I think you could almost take it as a cautionary tale because the loser is Wertheimer, and I feel like it's saying, don't be him. Don't aspire to be so grand and think that one person is that great that you could never surpass them, that's the reason why you should just quit completely. Quit on life. Just stop. Why bother, right? It's a cautionary tale saying, you know, you can keep going, but don't let that destroy you. Yeah.
And I mean, like, even the people who gave him the award, like he was, you know, the author was a controversial figure himself. Right? Like, he got so many people mad at him. And like, did you read the whole, like, spiel about his, like, will?
Oh, what?
Did you read the whole spiel about his will?
Oh yeah.
And like how, like, they still have no idea what to do about it. Like he like inadvertently, apparently, through his will, tried to stop people from publishing his works outside of Austria. Like, I mean, this guy is just, like, hilarious. And I read,
in any form, like, no plays, no anything, no adaptations, just do nothing with them.
And I thought it was cool. Like, and then there was and then the afterwards seeing how, like, a lot of his books are very similar. It's just the setting is different, but with every book that he's written has this one centralized kind of, like, you know, powerful thing. This one's the Goldberg variations, right? But he uses it, and he he uses it in different settings and with different types of people. And I mean, that's the only reason why I'm curious to read the Mendelssohn book, just because I want to see how he would adapt the same type of setting and book, but in a different way to create a different kind of, like, mood or something like that.
Because this one's about obsession and how the obsession over certain thoughts can completely just take over your whole life. Like, Glenn Gould took over. He just was the Goldberg variations. That's what he would do. He would just play these all day, just all the time, and he died over a piano. Doing this fiction. And Wertheimer obsessed over the fact that Glenn Gould was better than him, and the narrator, he obsesses over
Wertheimer.
He
obsessed over, like, he's such a loser. Like, it repeats over and over. If Gould was this person, I was this, then Wertheimer, he was the loser. He is the loser. He lost everything. He loses at life. And it's just that repetitive. He's obsessed with, it's kind of strange because thinking about it, it's like the narrator is not so much obsessed with Glenn Gould. It's Glenn Gould and then Wertheimer and then the narrator, and they're all kind of like in line, addicted to one another.
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
some ways.
Well, because like the narrator himself, like kept on trying to justify how much better he was, because unlike Wertheimer, he wasn't one like he never aspired to be a world-class musician, right?
He
Like,
compared the lowest expectation was
Mhm.
Yeah.
the supposed friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just really
I'm not dead, so
yeah, it was really interesting
kill myself.
because like it's just like
one.
yeah, because I feel like the joke's on him, right? Because now that both his close friends are dead, he has nothing to live for,
Yeah.
right? But the thing was like like Glenn Gould was never really a friend, and he distanced himself from Wertheimer
Yeah.
and just alienated him because he was just like, he's just a loser. I'm not gonna worry. But now that they're gone,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really interesting.
But he was so fixated on him in his failures, and it wasn't just about the music. It was like, oh, and his sister, and he threw his sister away, and he did this to the innkeeper, and he never wanted the money from his parents. Blah blah. It's all of these things about all the stuff that he did wrong.
Yeah,
That addiction to like, he's just such a bad guy. Why? Of course, he committed suicide.
that was the one thing that I couldn't get over, because like it was just like, oh, like the fact that he used that the whole like, I'm a rich, affluent, male white man in Europe,
Yeah.
but I don't want any of this wealth. This wealth
Oh, yeah.
suffocates me.
Yeah.
I like it just makes my life miserable, right?
I don't want the Steinway. I don't want it.
Like it just like I was like, I mean, I'm sorry, like that you have so much money that you can just give away your Steinway, and like
Right?
and for 2 pages, it was just and for 2 pages he's like, well, I have these like 2 apartments, and I was trying to sell one of them, but I don't really need to sell one of them because I have all this money anyways, so I might as well just not sell it. Right? I was like, why are we? I mean, but then like the whole like he's thinking randomly, it's a monologue, right? But I was just sitting there, I was like, I mean, guy, I pitied you for a little bit, but I don't pity you anymore. You're so rich,
Right?
That's the point. Is that Bernhard? Sorry.
What's his name?
He's trying to, like, in the afterword, he's talking about that real fiction produces disgust in a person, and that's reality. Reality is not ooey gooey, soft and sweet and sickly. It's actually, and I disagree with that, but he's just like, if you have no visceral reaction to the fiction, then it's not fiction. And you're like, so I can understand why he's trying to make everybody just so dislikable
and angry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Everybody's angry. I read this. I'm like, okay, so you've got 2 apartments. You've got a hunting lodge and blah 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 blah. Your sister just married like a multi-billionaire, something, and you're complaining about how money holds you back. Please tell me more.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're right, because like not only, for example, not only are the 3 main, like, I mean, through the eyes of the narrator, Glenn is considered negative. Right, there's no neutrality to Glenn, because Glenn was the reason why his best friend died. Like there is already a kind of like a negative connotation there. But he's like Glenn Gould, because he's not an active part in the actual book itself, is painted in like the best light. None of the other characters are painted like the sister and the husband are not like good people. The innkeeper is not a good person. Even Franz, like the woodsman, is not painted because he's like, all he wants to care about is that fact that he might lose his job. Right?
The rich white boy.
Yeah,
right?
the rich
but that's the thing. Like none of these characters are like painted in a favorable light because they're just human, right?
Yeah.
Like they're watching out for themselves. Like, I mean, I remember like when I was reading about that one section where the innkeeper was like, I asked him for money, but then he said no, and I was like, yeah, of course, if you ask anyone for money, they would say no. Like, you're so dumb. But she's in a very but she's in a very, very, very desperate situation, right? She needs financial help, and that's human. That's like there's no reason why you should like she should be noble,
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I also feel that the rich boys just have no bearing on reality of people that are middle class.
Or even lower than middle class.
Well, yeah, so they're just
Right.
like, oh, there's a dirty, stinky village. We don't want to be in this dirty, stinky village. All the places that are dirty, stinky. Oh, look at this inn. It's like never washed. It's dirt everywhere. And you're like, oh my God, just like.
Suck it up. Suck it up.
Yeah, like, and he's like, and I had to like run away from the city because the city life is like it's like vitriol. Like I hate it so much. Everything's so
Yep.
gross here. City life is so gross. Let me run to Madrid.
Yeah, exactly.
Another, like, Madrid's so much better. It's not the city, but it is a city. It's just like,
Yeah.
But it's
And
not
it's-
the other city.
no, but it's just like, it's like, oh my goodness. But I mean, here's the thing. Also, what's really funny was that the character of the narrator was interesting in the sense that he was like, a lot of the characteristics of the narrator was taken from Bernhard himself.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that he went to the Mozarteum, he went to the academy, he studied music, he had a lung disease, he had all this stuff, and a lot of it was him satirizing himself. Well,
Yeah.
was very interesting, and like, for me thinking, I was like, wow, I mean, this guy either has like a very dark sense of humor and just hates himself, or he takes very like light of all these situations and he's like, you know what, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect myself. You
Yeah.
can see it by reading this narrator.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's not perfect because he's me, and I'm not perfect either.
Mm.
But I mean, something that they said in the afterword about how he was really mindful of the way that the Austrian like politics were and Nazis and everything like that. I didn't really get a lot of that. Like, I mean, like there was like the mansion with the Nazi sculptor, right?
Yeah.
And then there was like a couple of like the political things that the narrator was saying to the innkeeper about like, how he didn't like this and that, and like how like socialism, blah 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 blah. This party's been around forever, but like it was never like, if it was in the afterword, they were saying how like it was very important as a part of his like the prose that he writes. It wasn't very strong in this one, at least I didn't notice it. And I'm wondering if the reason why I didn't notice it was because the actual premise itself didn't allow for a lot of those like those kind of like commentary on that. Maybe like in a different book when maybe it was a little bit more politically charged. But this one, I didn't feel like there was a huge like anti-Austrian government, anti-Nazi like kind of sentiment to it.
No, there was a very, like, it even said in the book, it's like, I both love and hate Austria. This is why I love it. I love it because it's Austria, but I hate it because it's dirty and stinky. But I love it, but I hate it, but I love it, but I hate it. And it's that you kind of get it because he's moving back and forth and he's traveling and he goes from city and city and stuff like that. But yeah, it's true. Like at the end, I'm like, oh, it's a statement about politics. Didn't get anything about politics in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I didn't miss.
Yes,
like,
I know.
It was nice
yeah.
that didn't happen. Like, I mean, because like you said, Amanda, I don't know much about Austrian politics.
Yeah.
Right. I know that they were involved in both wars, but I don't know much about Austrian politics. And obviously, this narrator had and the author had a lot of opinions on how his country was being run. Right. The fact that like they were saying how a lot of like most of the great post-war Austrian writers left Austria, and he was the only one that stayed. Was a statement, right? But I think if, let's say, for example, if I were to read another book and it was more politically charged, I now have an understanding why it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think reading the afterword beforehand would have possibly spoiled the first impressions and not given those same aha moments because it's such a short book that you can read through it and then it sits a little bit and you kind of go, but why? And then you read afterward and it goes, oh, this is why, this is why, this is why. Here's some facts that actually aren't real. Here's some reasons why he did this, reasons why he did this. And you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get those, but I do now.
Yeah, and like going back to like, for example, the fact that these three characters are just heightened caricatures of themselves and musicians. Like if you think about the quintessential like artist, right, who is like highly intellectual, reads everything, but just hates everything because the government is evil, everything is bad, right? There's a reason why the narrator was so disgusted about everything.
Yeah.
Right? Because if he's supposed to be this kind of high society, highly intellectual, like just thinker, you know, modern musician, he would think like that.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, like, I think each and every one of us knows at least one musician that's similar to that, right? Who're just into like the status quo is like so gross, right? And they're super smart, but they're not the nicest people to be around. They're probably vegans.
I think they're so miserable because they're hyper aware of absolutely everything. And they're just, they hate everything. And so then it just becomes this cycle. Whereas, you know, like they say, stupid people are the happiest. It's because they're just blissfully unaware.
Yeah.
Maybe that's better.
And I mean, that's why, like, as I mentioned, like, as I slowly realized the narrator as who he is, like understanding the reason why I don't like him is because I don't associate with the way that he thinks, but as someone who's affluent, who is highly intelligent, highly creative, who is, you know, who would be a quintessential artist, who would be heavily involved in the politics and the times, I would probably grow to hate everything too, because I would see everything as like, this is all an illusion. It's not real. Right? Like, you think that this is a good life. This is not a good life. Nothing about this is good. None of this is good. Right? And if you think, like, I started thinking about it that way, and I was like, all right, I understand why you're like this now. And that's why I liked it better. Yeah. Because then it.
Sorry. For the first half of the book, my brain thinking, it disagreed with everything that he was saying, and I kind of went on automatic with it. He said, I dislike this, and I'm like, well, maybe you didn't really look at it this way, and then he would say something else. I'm like, well, but you have to look at it this way, and I kept doing that, and finally I just went, no, you can't argue with writing. Just
accept it.
Accept it. And I think once I accepted it, I was like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I think honestly, like, this book is such a great way for you to be like, okay, this is how you can get into a character you absolutely hate.
Yeah.
Right? By just letting go of like how you think and feel, all of a sudden the character makes more sense because you understand where he's coming from. And like I said, it's not where we come from because we're not from that world, but it's so much more interesting because I could believe someone can turn into this person.
Yeah. Well, and it's true because like halfway through, you know, you don't get all of the information until a good chunk of the book is over. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm rich. Like, oh, yeah, why didn't I put that together? Yeah. Oh, I just gave away my Steinway. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a Steinway.
Yeah. I gave it to my teacher's 9-year-old gifted daughter.
Yeah, and I traveled,
good luck with that.
There, and this friend, and that friend, and this situation, and this situation. Yeah. Kind of go, okay, I have a full picture now. I can understand where you're coming from. Whereas before, it's just like, nope.
It's funny actually that you brought that up because actually I didn't realize that he was rich until kind of halfway through the book as well. So like at the very beginning when he was like, I need to give away my Steinway, I was like, okay, you know what? I understand. If I was in a position where, let's say, for example, music was becoming toxic to my life, I would just want to get rid of my pianos too. Like I understand why you gave it away, but and then like he starts describing about how beautiful the Steinway was and how like precious it was to him, and I was like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks that you gave it away. But then once I found out that he was rich, I was like, oh, you didn't even need the money. Like that's why you gave it away. You're just like, it's just a toy.
Yeah.
I don't care. I have so much money that I can just like do away with this part of my life, and I can just become a writer.
Yeah.
I'll just write about Glenn Gould.
But it doesn't say anything about them being rich until like the middle, and they're like, oh, by the way, our parents are like multimillionaires and we have all this money to play with. And I have 2 apartments, but I don't want either of them. I want to go to the hunting lodge.
I think they all tried to escape the money, didn't they?
I think they all did. They all tried to leave.
I'm gonna go in the cabin in the woods, and for a time I was like, oh, my hunting lodge, and then
but all except for the sister though, because the sister moved out of like the family riches, and then she went and married like the super rich Swedish guy.
Yeah, well, but Wertheimer moved back to Trake. That place. Yeah, but like that's where he imprisoned his sister until she left, and then he moved to the lodge after.
Yeah.
can we briefly touch on that relationship?
Yeah.
Because I
There-
think
Oh, the
that is
sister thing?
the most disturbing
What?
part of the entire book.
Yeah. Okay, I always wondered if it was a figuratively, if the narrator was like figurative, he trapped her. It never actually occurred to me that he might have actually trapped her there. I thought it was the figuratively of like, oh, please don't leave me. Feel guilty. I'm trapped in this. I'll never be as good as Glenn Gould. I always thought it was a figurative one.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never, I don't know. When I was reading it, I didn't immediately think, oh, I think he put her in shackles and left her there, right?
It was sort of gently touched upon, like, oh, he was a little bit obsessed with his sister, but no biggie,
We'll
right?
die together in this house or something like that is something.
Yeah.
We'll live together and die together.
But then it's near the end of the book where it starts saying things like, she didn't get to choose religion. She
Mhm.
chose what she wore. Her room had to be cold. His was warm.
Yep.
She had to wake up in the middle of the night and play him Handel, and then he'd tell her how terribly she played it. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, and that was like, that was like the last 2 pages, I think, last 2-3 pages when he talks to Franz about it, and he like regales all this information, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna go do something, and he's like, I'm gonna listen to Glenn Gould's recording, and then that was the end of the book.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
So why leave that powerful bit of information? Is it so that we feel sorry for Wertheimer for the entire book, and then those last 2 pages we go, whoa, no.
Well, I'm wondering if it's one of those like political things where you're like, oh, you feel bad, you feel bad, you feel bad. Oh, by the way, here's the truth, and it's going to screw you up.
Yeah.
If one of it was one of those political statements, but it was like, it's that last one. You're like, oh, he actually is crazy, as opposed to just being depressed. He is actually like kind of nuts and like legitimately trapped his sister. Okay, well, don't feel so bad about it for him anymore.
Yeah. Well, and also like, I think the thing now is, like having finished the whole thing and knowing the ending as what it is, I can't help but be like, what is he trying to get at?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the author trying to tell us? Like, what's going on, right?
I thought it was sort of a physical and emotional manifestation of the fact that he could never achieve control over his piano, so he achieved control over another human being.
Mm-hmm.
So he controlled everything that was about her, and that was the thing that made him, steady.
Mm-hmm.
It made him so that he wasn't all over the place. And then as soon as she left,
he's done. There's nothing left.
He was like, I've lost control. I'm done.
Yeah. Well, and like even at the very beginning of the book, like the narrator paints like Wertheimer's death as a result of Glenn Gould's death. But then as you progress through the book and the narrator gets more information, he realizes in his monologue, oh, actually, it wasn't Glenn Gould dying. It was his sister leaving him. And then you keep on getting more information, and you get more information, and then the fact that like it wasn't even the sister dying, like and like because like, it's like okay, like
she left.
Yeah, she left. Like, and at one point you're like, oh, that's kind of dumb. Like, why would you leave your brother like knowing that he would die? But then you realize that once he hung himself outside of her house, that
about that
he was the one. He was the reason why she left, right? So then you start to feel like there was almost nothing left about Wertheimer that you really enjoyed. Or cared much about.
Well, he's just a shell, right? Like, so he goes into the Mozarteum and works with that Horowitz, is it?
Yeah, Horowitz.
Works with Horowitz. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be this amazing piano player. I'm gonna do it professionally. I'm gonna be so great at this. Oh, Glenn Gould could never measure up. Well, there goes that idea. Mm-hmm. Okay, but at least I have this thing to fall back on. Oh, there goes that. At least I have this. Oh, there goes that. Well, why bother living?
So the one thing that I took away, like the narrator kind of came to the conclusion that it was because his sister left that he killed himself. But I think it's just a series of bad events that happened to him, and then it just it was like it was an erosion. It took a little bit away of him, and it took a little bit away of him, and he wasn't very strong emotionally, maybe to start with, I don't know. but just it took away so much that, like you said, he's a shell by the end. And
yeah, he's a shell. Yeah.
You know, you feel bad for him, but you kind of like it's great. It's very great.
It's depression, right? It's another take on like not classic depression, but that whole self-defeatist thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't be him.
Yeah.
I can't do this. So
yeah, and the fact that he just constantly pushed people away.
Yeah.
Right. Just
and people try to help him. Because there was I forgot where it was in the book, but I believe the narrator said like we all tried to help him. We all tried to, you know, get him out of the hunting lodge. We all tried to do this, but he wasn't having any of it. He just wanted to like sit and mourn himself until there was not anything left to mourn.
Mm-hmm.
And then that last choice of hanging yourself outside your sister's house, like, wow.
Yeah, I think for me, like, it's still like a lot of disjointed information in this book. Like, for example, like, why did he have those random people come over for 2 weeks?
To listen to him play. They came over just to, and because they said he would pay them to stay and just listen to him play. But is that his creation of like, now I'm Glenn Gould and I have fans.
Right. So like what?
It was perverse.
Yeah.
It was perverse. Yeah.
Asked for the worst grand piano that they had and the most out of tune, as if to almost say, I'm a great piano player, but
my piano's bad.
I'm actually terrible, but it's really the instrument. Like it was.
It's a scapegoat.
It was allowing him to feed into his own negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, like I know we hate Wertheimer a lot, but even like for example, like there was times the narrator was a douchebag. Like you remember, like like after Wertheimer decides like, you know, he's gonna quit music because he just can't be as good as Glenn Gould, but then he tries again. So he's like, hey, Mr. Buddy, do you want to come over and listen to me play? And then like he plays, and then the narrator's like, never touch the instrument again. You're terrible.
Yeah.
Never do it again. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But isn't that him just exerting his power over it? Because the narrator knows he's not as good as Glenn Gould either. But he's like, I'm not as good as Glenn, but I'm still better than Wertheimer because he's more emotionally fragile than me.
But the thing is, as a musician, Wertheimer was second only to Gould, right? So like the thing is, like he was no. But like even the narrator said, like Wertheimer was the best student at the academy. He was the best. And then Glenn came. But the thing was, Wertheimer was also really good at playing other composers that Glenn didn't play. So why was this fixation on the Goldberg variations? Is it because like the Goldberg variations is supposed to be like the biggest piece there is? I don't know. But the fact that like, he just decided just like, there's no point in doing this. Like I could, you know, like he knew that he could be better in other things, but like Bach was hit for him apparently.
I think that's supposed to be the tragedy, is that Wertheimer is actually second to Glenn, but he never realized it.
Yeah. Or he didn't allow himself to realize it.
All he could see was Glenn and how Glenn could play. And it was
not even how Glenn, but it wasn't even so much that Glenn could play. It's specifically how Glenn could play the Goldberg variations.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even piano. It was just like this, oh my God, this one piece that he can play amazingly well. I give up.
Yeah, that he supposedly just like obsessed over and played 24/7 and then would exhaust himself. So like there's a reason why he plays it really well. It's because he practices like 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
You'd be good too.
Yeah. Well, it's just I don't know. I know we're talking.
It's an interesting book.
It's like see like this. I mean, I don't hate the book at all, right?
No.
There was nothing about the book, like, I mean, the first couple of days reading this book was hell on earth.
It was.
Like,
oh my
God. Like seriously, I read 2 pages and then I put it down, and then I read 2 pages and then I put it down, and I was like, I have a week. How am I supposed to finish this book? Reading 2 pages and putting it down. But then I found myself.
About half of it.
Yeah, like you said, Karen, once you just surrender to the fact that he's like, you know what? He doesn't like these Austrian windows because they're dirty, just because he doesn't like those Austrian windows because they're dirty. Fine, fine, good enough. I don't care. Like, you don't get, like, you don't analyze it. You're like, why are these windows so dirty? Are they actually dirty? Are they stained glass windows? I was like, no, he just doesn't like them. He doesn't like
Just
them.
windows.
I think the thing that kept me sane was the entire time just like putting notes in the margins, being like, ugh, what a
Yeah. I think I have
why are you saying that? Just things like that kind of kept me sane.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have this, which is like my little like book note thing. And I've several times I've wrote like WTF, I don't understand. And then I put a page number down. I'm like, page something, line 4. What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, plot and characters aside,
Mm-hmm.
Music as a theme for this book was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was portrayed in a way that was very different than any of the other books. Like in a way, I feel like music in this book was like a poison.
Yeah, it wasn't that fluffy like music heals. Oh, music makes the world go round. This was, there are some people in the world
Yeah.
who practice piano to an nth of the degree. And you're like, yeah, actually, I've met those people.
Yeah. But it could also be, I found the theme of music to be just, it's not as solid as other books, because if we changed the art, this book could be written in any other art form.
Yeah.
Maybe instead of Glenn Gould, they're a pair of artists and they're pairing themselves to Frida Cole or whatever, or Dali or something, or a ballet dancer. So it's kind of, this is the convenient tool right now.
Yeah.
We're going to use music.
It's any artist.
Any artist, yeah.
Delves
Or
themselves
discipline.
fully into it.
Yeah.
And it's not even about, well, it is. It's not really about producing a good, it's, the funny thing about music is you're recreating somebody else's.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a composer, but you're playing somebody else's creation. So you're sort of this medium in between. And so the obsession of being the perfect medium in between, it's like, well,
Doesn't exist.
like,
Yeah, but I mean, but he does say that, like that whole being a medium, right? Like Glenn Gould doesn't want to be Glenn Gould. He wants to be the Steinway.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be the middleman between the instrument and the composer. He just wants to be the instrument. He wants to be Glenn Steinway. Steinway Glenn.
I wanted to just tell
Steinway
you,
Glenn, yeah.
then compose your own music, and then nobody will dispute whether or not you're playing it wrong. Just be like, no, that's the way I wrote it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, you're right. Like music, I think the reason why is because Amanda, for all our other books, well, not all of our other books, but the ones that music's theme is very strong, music was a central theme, right? For example, in the Chimes, music was a central theme.
Yeah.
Whereas with this one, music was a tool to drive the plot.
Yeah.
Right? But it was the reason why the plot existed.
Yeah.
Right? Because without it, then they wouldn't have met, these things wouldn't have happened, there wouldn't have been obsession.
Yeah.
But it was just really interesting to see music
How they
painted,
use this.
well, music painted in like a much more kind of like darker light. And like this kind of like uglier side of like, you know, what we consider, you know, higher education when it comes to music, right? There are people out there, and we know them, and we've met them, who are this obsessive and compulsive, who are this negative, who are this pessimistic, who might kill themselves one day, right? Just because they just cannot, like, they cannot handle the pressure of not being good enough.
But this kind of brings up that it actually, like, that pressure reminds me of you know, performance majors, right? And how if you are a specific instrument, you're not, the chances of you getting a job in a professional orchestra or even a semi-professional orchestra anywhere are very slim, because you are not an instrument that is necessarily needed. And then on the opposite hand, you have the ones that are always needed, but then you have all this competition. So I think of, it reminds me of like professional clarinet players, or like bassoons, or oboes, or a French horn. Like they played orchestras and wind symphonies, they played everything, but the amount of pressure that they had to compete with one another to get those spots and keep those spots.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like what Wertheimer, I guess, or Wertheimer.
Yeah, worse. Wertheimer.
Wertheimer, yeah, I think that's what he has in his head. It's like, if I can't be top spot, then why bother?
Yeah. Well, and then, you know what? Like the fact that like music was portrayed in this way helped the story, because like, if, let's say for example, if Wertheimer was super talented, like, and like realized his talent and then killed himself, then it would be tragic, right?
It is. I still find it a kind of tragic.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't like, because the narrator was creating the story for a very specific purpose.
Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't fit into what he wanted, because then it wouldn't make us feel anything at all as a fiction, right? He wouldn't create a character that would be so perfectly like knowledgeable of how well he was in something and how much passion he had for something, and then kill them, because that would be like the hopeless romantic character.
It was his foil, right? His foil is his lack of ability to believe in himself in any possible.
It's almost Byronic in a way. It's that sort of Victorian writers that were so mopey and so melancholy, and it was like the thing to be.
Oh,
Melancholy.
sorry, I had an idea.
Were so good, and that was sort of part of the celebrity of it all. And so this is almost like that, except it's way more tragic.
It is.
It's not romantic. I almost wonder if he flipped it so that it wasn't romantic.
Yeah.
If it had been like, oh, he was so mopey, oh, romance, and just kind of like, oh, all artists are like this. They're very emotional, but that's just part of them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You saying that brought up that gothic dark idea when you were talking about that, and it suddenly popped into me. I'm like, I remember reading this. I'm like, I've had these feelings before for a book where it was really hard to get through, and then it was that like, okay, as long as you just say, screw it, this is just how they are. They're just miserable all the time, whatever, to get through it. This was exactly how I felt when I read Wuthering Heights. Like, exactly. Was trying to get through that book and being like, why are you so whiny and complaining and such in a bad mood all the time? Oh, that's just how you are. It's the exact same feeling, because it was tough for me to get through Wuthering Heights as an adult.
Yeah, so like that's why I had mentioned that I didn't want to criticize this book too much, because I don't read this genre of books. I read fantasy, right? I read sci-fi. So for me, like, my characters are dynamic, right? They're always like the best version of humans, like humanity, right? They always, like, even though they could be flawed, but they're still like, the hero or like the anti-hero, you know what I mean? But for this person, like, it's like he's just a human. Like, he's just a human whose some of his parts created this kind of like sad existence.
Yeah. This is not escape.
Yeah.
You don't go into this to feel happy feelings.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah, like and that's why I was like, when I was reading it, I was like, so like this is a commentary.
Yeah.
Right? And so I appreciated it. Yeah.
Matt, would you recommend this to anybody that was maybe...
I would, but maybe to people that are older, like our professors, for example.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
maybe somebody who has a little more knowledge of European history.
Yeah. Like, for example, like, I might not recommend it to Wendell, but I would definitely recommend it to Arthur and Bruce.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they would have read things like this before. Right? They would appreciate it a lot better. And they would understand the literary prose of it, because they were kind of born and raised in that kind of style during that time. But I think they would enjoy it. Like I said, I think the three of us are just, we're not born in...
the 80s. Well, we are born in the
1800s.
Yeah, we're born in the 80s, but
we didn't live through the 80s.
And this, I don't think the target audience for this book is us.
No.
Right? Like, I mean, like, not to say like us as a generation, but just us as human beings and our collective, experiences who've created us now.
Yeah.
This is not for us. But
I am glad that I read it though, and I think I would recommend it too. I've got a couple friends that I would say, you know what, you want a challenge, I would recommend
try this one.
Yeah, because like I said, like I appreciate it, and I think all of you, we all agree. like this
Yeah.
is a literature book, right?
It is.
Right. It is not something like you're not meant to sit and like quote unquote enjoy it. This is not like your downtime book. This is like I want to be slapped in the face.
And you know, there are people out there that think that reading is not for enjoyment or for
That's true.
mind. So it's
you know who I think would love this? Klinman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Klinman would love this book. Klinman
Klinman
and Krebsy. Dr. Krebs, I think those two, because they have the experience and just like life in years that they could appreciate stuff like this. I think part of it is that like Poon said, like he would recommend to somebody who's older. I think we just don't have enough life experience to really appreciate this book to the full extent of what it could be appreciated as. Especially some of the things that happen in the middle. I think, you know, we're all in our early 30s and we're just kind of like, he's a cranky dude. He's a cranky dude obsessed with his friend that committed suicide. Like there's... It
would be different reading this if I was 40. It would be different if I was reading this at 50. But at the same time, I'm not a professional musician and I'm not studying music. I'm teaching it. And so like all of the stuff about how teachers are terrible and teachers are ruining students, I was really pissed off at. But I understood where he was coming from. Whereas, you know, you've got some teachers that are just like, no, it's my way or the highway. And it stilts people's development. And I get that's totally fine.
Yeah, and I mean, and in his defense, there was that one part where he was saying how it's interesting how academy students always think the Mozarteum was better, and vice versa. Yeah, it's funny because you always think that your school's not that good, but the other school is better. When in real life, actually, your school's pretty good. It really depends on the teachers. And good schools can have good teachers. Good schools can also have bad teachers. So I was like, yes, he did take a big, like, massive dump on education, but
it wasn't like it wasn't one thought. It was one thought over here, one thought over here, and one thought over here.
And then like 14 pages later, there's one line connecting two of those ideas.
But I mean, you know what, like what Karen said, right? It's a monologue. It's a person just thinking back and forth, and that's why it was so schizophrenic. Because he was just thinking. And like I said, I don't think like that, but there are people who do, right? And the fact that he had to constantly, like, I think the one thing that really bugged me was how, like, he would say something, and then he would switch from first and third person, and then from his own experience to Wertheimer, and then at the end of the sentence, he would be like, he said, I thought. And I'd be like, why? Why did you have to put I thought? I knew you were thinking.
There were a couple of lines where, you know, oh, I think this is how he's thinking. No. That's how Wertheimer was thinking. It was Wertheimer thought. I'm like, how do you know he thought? I'm sorry, what?
So, and you know, and it's going back to the whole, like, he's creating this kind of story in his head. Right? He's justifying why he's this way because Wertheimer obviously thought this way, right? So
I do have to admit that actually one of the biggest issues I had with this was the fact there were no paragraphs. I honestly did not think it would bother me as much as it did. But like you said, Poon, like I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna put it down. I pick it up, I'm like, where was I? What happened? Oh, okay, I have to go back. Okay, there's nowhere to go back because it's just a block of text.
I'm wondering. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to do this right now, but I'm wondering if there was an audio book of this and I just listened to it like from beginning to end, would I appreciate it better?
This page,
you know what I mean?
But this page has 3 periods in it. This entire page.
No, but you know what I mean? Like the reason why it was hard to pick it back up was because we were breaking his thought process.
Yes. Yeah.
We like he kept on going. We were like, we can't digest anymore. But he kept on going. So we stopped the flow of thought. So I'm wondering.
So ideally, I think you're supposed to read it like as one long thing. But who could do this for?
Well,
like,
some people could.
189 pages
like
of
some
just,
some
right.
some sadomasochists out there.
So it'd probably be easier on the second go of it because
probably,
you know it, and I mean you could down it in a day.
Yeah,
You
it's not that
could.
hard once you get into it, right?
But part of it is also that because we're so used to not even just paragraphs, but the breaking up of a thought. Like if there was even a little bit, even if it looked like this, I can't even like do this. Even if it looked like this, but there was a sentence where it's like, and it ends, and then there's another thought. But every sentence is connected to the last sentence. So so when you're done, you're kind of like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think it's because we're so used to reading a certain type of plot structure, right?
Yeah.
This is not that type. And also, if he were to break it off into chapters, I think it would take us out of the fact that he's thinking in his head.
Yeah.
Right?
Another thing to note is we're not reading it in its original language.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true. That is true.
Can totally make a difference for some books. It might make. I mean, not that we can read it in German. Yeah.
Yeah.
Austrian? German.
Yeah. I feel like you know how people think differently in different languages.
That's
I feel like this would read very differently in German than it does.
Yeah, well, because he mentioned, right? Like I mean, the greatest kind of thing about German language is that you have compound words.
And
so
they're
a lot of these sentences, but a lot of these sentences would be shorter in German.
That's true.
Because we would have 5 or 6 words in one word rather than our separate 6 words.
That's true.
The flow of it would be a lot quicker. Also, right, you're right, back to the whole linguistic thing. If they're used to reading these kind of long compound sentences, like for us, these are like compound sentences. But for them, it'd just be a simple compound sentence.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot that's like, I mean, also they mentioned that there was a lot that was like lost in translation as well.
Yeah.
I mean, having said that though, I still found myself enjoying parts of it. And like I said, we have different people we would like to recommend this to. So I feel like it's still a win. It does suck that we can't read it in German, but I think the English version of this was still interesting enough that it maybe in a couple of years, if I run across another one of his books, I might give it a shot now that I know how he writes.
Yeah. This was a brain book was actually what I found was, I can't even, like, it's backwards on my thing. I have like going over,
It shows up right on ours.
Yeah, I know. It was definitely challenging. Like you said, like the first like 20 pages was, I had to reread that first 5 pages over and over again because I'm like, I don't get it. I know this is supposed to be like this. I know it's a train of thought.
Yeah.
But going through it and thinking, okay, what is happening? I don't know where his thought went. His thought went over here, but I'm still over here. I don't understand that.
So personally, I would never pick this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're picking this up and discussing it.
Yeah.
I think that adds something to it as well. It's that English major thing where you go off and you read it, you're like, wow, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read, and you come back and all of a sudden you start discussing it and you go, wow, this
wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah. Well,
I'm glad that we read it as a group.
Yeah, if we hadn't read this for a book club read, I would have not finished this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like if it wasn't like a deadline and I was like, I'm gonna let my my book club mates down by not reading this, and I chose it. I'm gonna read this, and you know what? Thank God it was sub 200 pages.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if it was like 500 pages?
I don't think we'd have to postpone this.
Yeah.
Not finishing.
But the one thing that's really cool is that we were actually finding a lot of stuff that we're all going out of our comfort zones with this book club. Like again, like Karen said, this would never be something I would pick up. I would read the back and find it interesting and then open it up and be like, oh God, no, one big gigantic text.
Yeah.
But like pushing ourselves to kind of do this has definitely like opened up doors of reading. Still not my favorite type of reading, but
I honestly.
No, but also, good.
but also good. It kind of experiencing it is
Like
the
our
important thing,
spinach.
right?
Yeah.
You may not always like it, but
I
sometimes.
like spinach.
Yeah.
Like
Like
kale.
like for a rating of some sort, like if Goodreads gave half, I would give a 3.5.
I can't give a rating to this.
I think I gave it a 2.
Yeah, it's just like
I would 2 for enjoyability, but
Yeah.
like 4
Yeah.
for execution, style, and
Mhm.
literary impact.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but like, I mean, I think that's what you said, Amanda, right? This is like a Wuthering Heights book, right? This is like, Epic of Gilgamesh. It's supposed to be literature, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to read it once and then like never read it again, kind of situation. And I'm really glad we read it.
It's like playing Lincolnshire Posy.
All right, you guys, we're way past 8, so we should probably wrap up.
Okay.
Amanda is choosing next
Yes.
next book. So, and you've chosen something, right?
I don't know where this came up, but I chose it and I read the blurb and I really like it. I don't have it yet. I just ordered it off.
Okay. What's it called? I can screen share the picture of the cover.
Okay. It's called The Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love, a novel. So it starts off. I know it's not the romance that we thought it would be, but it has won a Pulitzer Prize.
Oh yeah. Okay, I was looking at this. This is one of the this was one of the other ones. I was like, oh, this could be something.
I think this popped up on something. It's okay. So it's 1949, and 2 young Cuban musicians make their way from Havana to the grand stage of New York City. It is the era of mambo, and the Castillo brothers, workers by day, become stars of the dance halls by night, where their orchestra plays the lush, sensuous, pulsing music that earns them the title of the Mambo Kings. This is their moment of youth, exuberance, love, and freedom, a golden time that decades later is remembered with nostalgia and deep affection. So it's about those 2 brothers and their triumphs, the tragedies, their fellow musicians, lovers, recreates the sounds and signs of an era. So they won a Pulitzer. The author won a Pulitzer in 1990, and he was the first Hispanic recipient of the award.
Mm-hmm. So can you guys see the cover?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. It's I mean, this is a pretty cover. Whoa, Inception.
Ooh. Whoa.
Right, there you go.
Is there a way that I could screenshot mine?
You should have, like, if you scroll to the left, there should be like a screen share button.
Chat. Oh, screen share. Here,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you this one. This is what it looks like on.
Yeah, I
Can
saw
you
that
see
one
that?
too.
That's the one that looks like on mine. I think that's the one that I got from Chapters.
Okay. Yeah, this was actually one of the ones that I was maybe going to choose as well. But it sounded really interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of stoked. It's coming in the mail now, so if it's just like if it's just a commentary, maybe I'll choose a different one.
But hey, you know what? It's fine. Like the whole point of it, the whole point of it is for us to be challenged to read different types of things. Right?
Like if it's nonfiction, cool. But does it should say if it's
I'm pretty sure it's a non-fiction. Or no, I'm pretty sure it's a fiction.
Yeah, I think it's a fiction. I typed
in. It was made into a motion picture in 1992.
Yeah, it's fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't watch the movie first.
Yeah, the movie is the Mambo Kings 1992.
Ooh.
So, full confession, I like listening to music that I think suits the book as
We're getting into some salsa here, guys.
This one, I was listening to the Goldberg Variations by...
Of course you were.
Of course. And I'm excited that in June, I'm going to be listening to Mambo.
Nice.
Mambo music. I'm actually really stoked. I don't know where I found this, but it popped up somewhere. I'm like, oh my God, that's the one that I want.
Nice.
You know, I'm gonna put on some Mambo number 5 by Lou Bega. A little bit of Monica in my life. Yeah.
A little bit of Erica by my side.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our pick. It is the Mambo Kings Play Songs of Love by Oscar Hijuelos.
Yeah, I didn't try to pronounce it. I don't want to butcher it.
2 books by Oscar this year.
Oh, you? Yeah?
Because the Strength of Murder was by Oscar.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I have book number 2. I have yet to start
have you started it yet?
I haven't because I'm trying to get through it. I really want to see the. No, I really want to see the movie, and I am like really into Stephen King. I really like it.
I can't do it because so Matty is really scared of clowns, and he somehow like by hanging out with him a lot made me really scared of clowns.
Oh, what?
So now I can't do clowns.
You can't do. Then you should read. You should. I'm not even kidding. The Shining, so good. The Shining, and then you read the follow-up, which is called Doctor Sleep. So good.
I haven't given Stephen King a shot yet.
I love Stephen King.
My problem is that like I'm really scared that once I get into him, I just will start reading all of his books, like Guy Gabriel K.
Yeah. See, sorry,
but-
my boyfriend
go
and I are currently working through the Gunslingers.
Ooh. Is that that's not the Dark Tower series, is it?
No, this is the Dark Tower series. This is the second book.
Yeah. That's the Dark Tower series, right?
Yep.
And
they're making that into a TV show.
Yeah, but that's like there's like 10 books in that series, isn't there? There's quite a few.
Are 7 or 8. And
Yeah,
they
there's
get bigger,
too many.
and they get Stephen King biggish, and I'm like, oh. And the
Yeah.
first book, let me just say, terrible. Probably the worst book I've ever read.
But you have to remember that it's book 1, so maybe he
Yeah.
gets better and better.
Well, and actually, you read everybody else's reviews, and they're like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Keep going, please.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But that's like what's it called? Like I stalled on book 3 of the Outlander series, or book 4. I finished the first 3, and I'm on the 4th, and I'm just looking. I'm like, it's 800 pages. It's 800 pages of the same plot. I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
Okay, we should probably get going. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To take off, but
it was fun.
it was good.
Yeah, thank you guys for
Just
show
you. Where is it? There he is.
Oh,
He fell asleep on the door sill.
so cute. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for reading this with me. Like we mentioned, if we hadn't done this for the book club, I don't think I would have finished this. But I'm glad we did. I'm glad we finished it. I'm glad we read it because like now I've been exposed to a new type of writing style.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
I will not read it anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe in about 10 years I'll try it again.
Here we go. 10 years, we'll revive the book club and we'll read the Mendelssohn one.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Guys, so,
10 years.
yeah. So guys, get the Mambo Kings play Songs of Love, and we will see you guys here next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.